It's the girl with the guitar.
Who? Me?
Maya King, 9, stood barefoot on a bustling Los Angeles street, clutching a cracked guitar she'd pulled from a dumpster. When a TV crew spotted her, they didn't see a child. They saw a story to shock viewers. They brought her to a glittering talent show stage, ready to humiliate her in front of millions. But what happened next would turn the tables in ways nobody expected. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop your country in the comment below and please like the video. Thank you. Now let's continue. Maya King was 9 years old, barefoot, hungry, and holding a cracked guitar she'd pulled from a dumpster. She slept under a bus stop in Los Angeles and sang on street corners for coins. People rarely looked at her twice. One afternoon, a van with a TV logo pulled up. A group of production assistants stepped out, scanning the street like they were shopping. "There," one of them said, pointing. "She looks dramatic." They walked over, filming her with their phones as she woke up, confused, still hugging the broken guitar like it was treasure. "Hey kid," said a tall man in a dark blue suit. His name was Colin Hart, senior producer of a hit talent show called America's Rising Voices. "You sing?" "A little," Maya replied. "Perfect," Colin smirked. "We're doing a special episode. Come with us. You'll be on TV." They didn't ask if she'd eaten. They didn't ask where she lived. They just saw a good story. A homeless girl with a broken guitar. Not to celebrate her, just to create a shocking contrast. At the studio, everything was bright, cold, and loud. Kids around Maya's age strutted in glittery clothes with perfect hair. Their parents bragged about private vocal coaches and expensive music schools. Maya, in a faded t-shirt and ripped jeans, stood off to the side, clutching her guitar. She walked toward a long table covered with snacks and drinks. Before she could reach for anything, a woman in a headset stepped in front of her. "Sorry, sweetheart," the woman said with a practiced smile. "Those are for the official contestants." "I'm performing too," Maya said quietly. The woman glanced at her clipboard, then nodded. "Oh, you're the special participant. You go last." "Very last." The way she said special made it sound like a joke, not a compliment. Maya sat down on the floor in the hallway, back against the wall, guitar on her lap. Around her, makeup artists rushed, cameras rolled, and parents fussed over their kids. A girl about 12, wearing a sparkly dress and expensive shoes, noticed Maya and tugged her father's sleeve. "Dad, why is that girl here?" she asked. Her father leaned closer and lowered his voice, though not enough. "She's here for contrast," he whispered. "So you shine brighter next to her. Don't worry about it." They assumed Maya couldn't hear. She heard every word. Her hands tightened around the neck of the guitar. For a moment anger surged. But instead of yelling, she took a slow breath. 3 years on the streets had taught her that anger wasted energy she needed to survive. She had learned to listen, watch, and remember. Her mind drifted back to the life she'd had before everything fell apart. She had once lived with her grandmother, Ruth King, in a tiny apartment above a laundromat in New York. Ruth had sung gospel for 40 years in a small church and taught music to neighborhood kids for free. "When the world tries to make you small, you stand taller," Ruth used to tell her. "When they try to shut you up, you sing louder." Ruth didn't let Maya be lazy. She taught her scales, breath control, harmony, and rhythm. They practiced for hours in that little apartment, using a cheap keyboard and an old tape recorder. Ruth insisted Maya learn to sing without microphones, projecting her voice to the back of the room. Then came the doctor's visits, the medical bills, and finally, the day Ruth didn't come home. She died of cancer, and there was no money, no safety net, no one to step in. Maya bounced through foster homes until she slipped through the cracks and ended up alone, drifting all the way to Los Angeles. In her backpack, she carried exactly 2 important things: a change of clothes and a folded letter from Ruth. She had read that letter so many times she almost knew it by heart. But today, she felt something push her to read it again. Maya got up and moved to a quiet corner backstage. She opened her backpack, pulled out the worn envelope, and unfolded the letter. In it, Ruth explained something she'd never told anyone while she was alive. Years ago, she had been one of the first black women to graduate in music composition from a top conservatory. She had quietly written songs and coached young musicians who couldn't afford teachers. One of those young musicians had been a talented but discouraged man named Adrian Cole. He was now the head of the television network that aired America's rising voices. "If you ever need help and you've done everything you can on your own," Ruth had written, "look for Adrian. He owes me nothing, but he understands what it means to be underestimated. Don't ask him for pity. Show him who you are first." Maya folded the letter and put it away. She hadn't come to the studio to beg anyone. She had come to sing. If the world was going to see her, it would be on her terms. "Hey, street girl," a voice called. Colin Hart walked toward her, checking something on his tablet. "You actually know any songs?" he said. "We don't want dead air." "I know a few," Maya replied, running her fingers along the guitar strings. "Street songs," he smirked. "Stuff you sing for coins." She tilted her head slightly. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Colin?" He blinked, not used to being questioned by a child. "What? Do you play an instrument?" "I don't have to," he said sharply. "I have a degree in media production. I know talent when I see it." "I see," Maya said calmly. He walked away, laughing with another producer about how good the segment would be, how the audience would love it when the little street kid melts down. Maya's jaw tightened. She closed her eyes for a second. "Grandma," she thought, "I hope you're watching." Near the stage doors, a man in a simple suit stood observing quietly. His hair was graying. His glasses rested low on his nose, and his gaze was steady and thoughtful. He didn't look like a frantic producer or a parent. He looked like someone who was used to watching before acting. He saw Maya, the broken guitar, the way she held herself with more dignity than most adults in the room. He walked up to her. "Excuse me," he said. "What's your name?" "Maya Ruth King," she answered, saying her middle name with pride. The man froze. "Ruth King," he repeated softly. "Was she your grandmother?" "Yes," Maya replied. He swallowed, his eyes suddenly bright. "My name is Adrian Cole." The name hit her like a bell. Adrian Cole, the man from her grandmother's stories, the one in the letter. "Your grandmother," he began, then stopped, collecting himself. "She taught me when no one else would. I was just some kid no one believed in. She worked with me after church, late into the night. She helped me get my first real chance." He looked at Maya carefully. "Where have you been, Maya?" he asked. "All this time. Mostly on sidewalks," she said honestly. "Since she died." Guilt washed over his face. "I didn't know she had a granddaughter. If I had known." "She told me not to look for you until I could stand on my own 2 feet," Maya interrupted gently. "I'm standing now." "Are you singing here today?" Adrian asked. "Yes, they brought me here to be funny. A contrast," she said. "But I came here to sing." "I can stop this," he said immediately. "I can pull the plug on the segment. They won't get away with." "I don't want you to stop it," Maya said firmly. He stared at her. "You don't." "I want one thing from you," she said. "Don't interfere. Let them do exactly what they planned. Just make sure everything is recorded. The way they talk to me. The way they treat me. The way they try to make me look small." Slowly, recognition crossed Adrian's face. She sounded just like Ruth. Calm, strategic, sharper than the adults who thought they were in control. "You sound like her," he said quietly. "Exactly like her." "Grandma said our gifts aren't just for us," Maya replied, tightening the strap of her guitar. "They're to open doors for the kids who come after us. If I just escape, nothing changes." Adrian nodded slowly. "All right. I'll make sure every second is captured." A few minutes later, a production assistant hurried over. "Kid, you're up," she said. "Let's make this quick." The lights on stage blazed white-hot as Maya walked out. Thousands of eyes watched her. Some people chuckled, expecting a joke. A street girl with a broken guitar on a shiny TV stage looked like a setup. Backstage, Colin leaned toward the sound engineer. "As soon as she starts singing," he murmured, "hit the bad track. Static feedback, the works. It'll kill." Maya stepped up to the microphone, took a deep breath and spoke. "My name is Maya Ruth King," she said. "I'm 9 years old. I want to dedicate this song to my grandmother, who taught me that music doesn't belong to one class, one color, or one neighborhood." She struck the first chord. The guitar, though worn, rang clear. Years of playing in echoing subway tunnels and under overpasses had taught her exactly how to draw sound out of damaged strings. Then the static hit. The speakers blasted a piercing screech that drowned out the notes. Some audience members covered their ears. Few laughed. To them, it looked like the little girl didn't know what she was doing. "Technical problems," Colin shouted from the side of the stage, pretending to look concerned. "We'll have to stop this number, Anne." Maya didn't move toward the wings. Instead, she stepped away from the microphone entirely, to the center of the stage, where the lights were brightest. She closed her eyes and started to sing without any amplification. She chose a song Ruth had loved, a simple hymn about hope and grace. Her voice rose, strong and clear, cutting through the noise. She projected the way she had in subway stations, when trains roared by and she still needed people to hear her. The static kept hissing through the speakers, but her voice soared above it. Row by row, the audience fell silent. The laughter died. Even the judges, who had prepared smug expressions, looked stunned. In the control room, Adrian stood watching the monitor, arms crossed. "Do not cut the feed," he told the tech team. "Stay on her." Full shot. On stage, Maya sang like she was singing in church again. Each note carried memory and grief and stubborn joy. People in the back row could hear every word, even with the broken sound system. When she finished, there was one long hanging second of silence. Then the crowd exploded. People leaped to their feet, clapping, cheering, whistling. Some were crying. None of them saw a contrast anymore. They saw a child whose voice had smashed straight through the humiliation set up for her. Adrian walked onto the stage. The room went quiet again, recognizing his face from network announcements and interviews. Colin's heart dropped into his stomach. Adrian took the microphone. "My name is Adrian Cole," he said. "I am the president of this network. And I need to tell you what you just saw." He placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. "This is Maya Ruth King," he continued. "She is the granddaughter of Ruth King, one of the greatest musicians and teachers I have ever known. A woman who broke barriers to study music when people like us weren't welcome in those places. A woman who taught kids like me for free when no one else would." Gasps rippled through the audience. 3 years ago, Adrian went on, voice tight, she died. I had no idea her granddaughter was left alone on the streets. While this child slept under a bus stop, we, as a company, allowed people in this building to see her not as a human being, not as a musician, but as a joke. He turned toward the backstage area. Every conversation, every plan to sabotage her, every cruel comment was recorded today, he said. And millions of people have just watched it live. The cameras cut to Colin, who stood frozen, sweat forming on his forehead. "Colin Hart," Adrian said. "You are fired. Not just from this show but from this network. We will not tolerate people who think humiliating a child is entertainment." The crowd booed. Security escorted Colin off stage. Adrian turned back to Maya and knelt so they were eye level. "Maya," he said softly, though the microphone carried his words to everyone. "I am so sorry. Your grandmother would be proud of your courage and your talent." Maya held the guitar a little tighter. "She told me once," Maya replied, "that the best way to answer prejudice is to be so excellent they can't ignore you." The line landed like a thunderbolt. The crowd roared again. At home, people were already clipping the moment and sharing it. In the days that followed, the video of Maya singing through Sabotage went viral. News anchors replayed the clip. Commentators talked about class, race, and cruelty in entertainment. Millions of people fell in love with the little girl who refused to be embarrassed. Colin's career dissolved overnight. No company wanted him. Every time he tried to defend himself, people brought up the footage. In the end, he quietly left the industry. Adrian made a promise on national television. "We failed this child," he said in a press conference. "We will not fail others like her." He announced the Ruth King Music Initiative, a program that would find talented kids in poor neighborhoods, give them instruments, lessons, and safe housing. It would pay for their education, not just their TV moments. Maya was the first person chosen. Adrian and his wife, who had no children of their own, offered to adopt her. After years of sleeping in corners and on benches, Maya had a room of her own, a real bed, and a piano against the wall. Within a year, she stood on the stage of a great concert hall on the East Coast, performing with a renowned orchestra. She carried the same guitar from that TV show, now repaired but still scarred. "This guitar," she told the audience, "reminds me that strength doesn't come from what we have. It comes from what we do with what we have." The concert raised millions for the Ruth King Initiative. Hundreds of kids who might have been ignored now had teachers, instruments, and hope. The talent show itself changed. New rules banned humiliation. Child psychologists and counselors were added to the staff. A simple phrase appeared above the stage in gold letters: "Greatness can come from anywhere." Maya grew older, but she never forgot where she came from. Between her studies and performances, she visited shelters, small schools, and community centers. She listened to kids sing, rap, hum, and drum on tabletops. "My grandmother said our gifts are bridges," she told them. "We cross first, then we help others cross too." The world remembered the story of the barefoot girl with the broken guitar who turned a planned humiliation into a victory that changed lives. And for anyone tempted to judge someone by their clothes, their address, or their empty pockets, Maya's story stayed as a quiet warning. When you underestimate people, you might be standing in front of a legend in the making, and not even know it. Did Maya's story inspire you, move you, or give you chills? There are countless more stories like hers, real-life tales of courage, hope, and triumph waiting to be shared. Don't miss them. Hit subscribe to Echoes of Life Stories and be the first to witness the incredible journeys that remind us why life is worth watching.